Hi, everyone. Hope you guys are doing amazing right now. Whether you're watching this live or listening on the podcast, I'm hoping that you are enjoying this moment for the time to honor yourself. And what we're talking about today is that don't we all feel like there's aches and pain, there's stress. Those are just normal part of our life. Or maybe it's your body, your mind is telling you, you gotta stop for a minute. You gotta reset. You gotta recharge. You gotta put your body and yourself in a better state. So then you can actually tap into what you truly want in society, in your career, for your family, and really for yourself. And so that's why I invited Michele Johnson here today with us. And she is a certified PA in family medicine. And she is a certified professional life coach specialized in stress reduction from a healing perspective. And she is also a very engaging speaker, author of the international best-selling book, Seller Pain-Free: How to Live a Full Life Despite Chronic Pain. And as a fibromyalgia and chronic pain warrior for nearly 2 decades, the self-help memoir focused on helping the wounds invisible illnesses through the holistic health perspective techniques, learning from her Western medicine as she studied in China and the Cuban system. And as a pain-free PA, she empowers overworked professional women to release stress, repair the damages, and relaunch the new life as they deserve, so deservedly, to create a true vision together. And me and Michele met through a conference. Actually, we both were speaking at a panel for students, upcoming PA students. And we just clicked, knowing there's many things that are similar in what we promote. As you guys know, I am someone who help you guys with your mental immunity so you can have a time makeover. As Michele is coming from the healing side, what does stress mean to you? How do you empower yourself and not get into these pains or making the pain stopping you? So I'm so excited for you to be here. Thanks, Michele.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Sabrina. It is such an honor to be on your platform. I'm so grateful you invited me, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time. And of course, thanks everyone for listening. And you guys can be doing anything and be anywhere and you choose us. So we are grateful. And this is why I have this show for you. Awesome. So Michele, tell us a little bit more. How did you get into PA school and then realizing that one of your main focus and your passion is in overcoming your own pain and overcoming what it means to live a stress free life, and then even that term, right? I feel like people like it's not, almost impossible. And
It
then
is.
if I don't have stress, then I can't push myself to go further.
I love that question. I know for me, stress had accumulated in my body. Just sort of like that trickle of water that became the Grand Canyon. So does stress do in our body. They say 77% of the reason why people come to the doctor's office is because of stress related illness. And I saw it over and over and over again in the exam room. So you know how it is. You get accepted to PA school, you think you're going to go change lives, you're going to get into medicine and help people heal. By that time, I had already been a fibromyalgia sufferer. I had already seen what the medical system had to offer, and I wanted to be part of the solution. I started getting in those exam rooms, and most of the things that people were talking to me about were those things beneath the surface. People would come in for a cold or bronchitis, and we would end up crying together. I had to stock my rooms with 4 boxes of tissues because at least 4 or 5 people would cry with me every day. So when you think about that, so many of us are walking around just kind of on the edge of something. It's not just our career. We have our family, our love life, our drive to have a mission in life. So we have a lot on us. And to be able to harmonize those things and live not a stress-free life, because we always gonna have stressors, but a life that is driven by good stressors, and we're able to effectively manage the difficult stressors.
Right, which is such a key is what do you define as a good stress and the stressor is really harmful and not just lump them together. And I totally believe, yes, good stress is that fight and flight, that inner nature of us to the amygdala that identify danger. But that danger shouldn't stop us, but simply alarms and warning our body, our sense of direction. And if we take this alarming warning right away, then we can actually do something about it and already pivot into that empowerment side of us and then be able to go instead of holding on to the stress and
Mm.
debating with ourselves, trying to make a decision when you are wasting so much time, right? At the end of the day, actually, it's not that we don't know what we want sometimes, it's that even we know what we want, we still debate with ourselves on what is the next thing to do. And then we got trapped into just doing a bunch of stuff and never really moving forward.
Well, that's how we're trained, right? For a lot of us, and being a trauma informed coach and people who, a person who knows that we all come with our stuff. We're carrying around this suitcase of maybe some things from childhood, maybe some uh, PTSD from an event. Maybe we're walking around with this feeling of grief from COVID. Right? So when we talk about those stressors that come on and needing to pivot, some of them kind of get ingrained in our body and we don't know how to not just do. We don't know how to not do the things we did to survive. And so, like you said, sometimes we're fearful to let go of the things we had to do to survive and now pivot into the things we need to do to thrive.
Correct. And do you see that when we talk about trauma, it doesn't have to be a huge, big event, right? Where it's like PTSD creating, but it's these micro hurts that may not even be the reality, but it's our perception of what
Mm,
doesn't work, the perception of made us anger because our interpretation, what someone said, what someone didn't fit into our little mold at the moment. So it
girl.
in itself is trauma.
Girl, we beat ourselves up so bad. It's like we walk around with a stick sometimes. We create a conversation that, oh, this is what's really going on beneath the surface. And no, it's just what was said. So, like you said, those micro traumas we're repeating day after day or moment to moment keep activating that stress response system. Keep activating that flight or flight. And what does that do to our body? Our body's like, what in the world kind of roller coaster is this? First, she's beating me with a stick, and now I feel like I'm going to fall off the deep end because we're going up and down with our emotions. So, you're so right. We can create a whole story in our mind that doesn't even exist.
And it's hard for us to even recognize that sometimes because even with my clients, they are healthcare leaders, right? They already have an organization, clinic, everything they're running. And we still get into this same trap of, well, I just hire someone new to help me become a better speaker, get me onto more networking so I can refer. I'm like, great. But why are you all of a sudden feel more stressed if this is a good thing? Have you had a conversation with that person of what's your minimum boundary of what time you will be able to give up from everything that you're doing right now because you're adding something, right? We are all going to have only 24 hours in a day. So if you're going
Yeah,
to add something, then you have to think about what you're going to okay to give up and not feeling like, oh, I have to add more. Well, holiday coming up. So if I'm going to be off for a week on holiday, that's where I might recharge. But then people's bad habit is let's front load everything. Then what are you actually recharging? You did not do anything differently. You actually made yourself more stressed out.
Girl, that same 24 hours in a day. And that is so important to remember that, like you said, something has to move if we're going to add something else on our plate. I love that you brought up the holidays because this is one of the most stressful times for a lot of folks. Going into this season, it's not just about the hustle and bustle. Some of us have grief of lost loved ones. Some of us are mourning the fact that because of COVID, we can't celebrate the way we normally would. So, like you said, trauma doesn't have to be big. We have these kind of things that can kind of collect on our plate and make us feel overwhelmed. And we get busy being humans doing instead of being human beings.
Correct. That is such a great statement. Is we forget that we're beings, and then this being can be very diversified, colorful, and it's so important to honor that part of our color pattern, and not get trapped into I just have so many things to do. My to-do list is never endless. I still so much I want to tap into, but I don't even have time and energy and sanity to do, right? And then it's the societal way that we are being there, and then our mental part, our owner self, start creating these persona and keep as many people, right, the devil or the angel, and then they keep debating with each other. And in psychology, we also talk about yourself, actually your future self and your current self are always going to be in a disagreement, because your
Mhm.
present self is going to be like, this is great. Let me get up extra half hour earlier so then I can think about maybe meditate, think about maybe I'll want to work out. And then guess what? Your super self tomorrow is like, well, it's getting cold. Well, it's getting really hot. Seems like my house seems like so much more comfortable, and this bed is great. Why do I even get up, right? So, Michelle, what are something that you've been working with people on reducing stress and pain? Or what are something people can really use?
A lot of what I do with clients is revealing who we really are. And I say that because you mentioned society and the stressors that kind of are placed on us about what we think we should be doing. So many of us are walking around in this space of, I have to have this by age 40. I have to have this type of relationship. I have to have this much money and 2.5 kids and one dog. And we put so much pressure on ourselves that we forget, even like we said, who we are, that we're beings, we're not doings. So, a lot of what I do first with people is get to the nitty gritty of what you really want. What is that champion inside of you that is not just here to take up space, that is unique and different and has gifts to offer the world? What does that part of you really want?
Crucial question. What do we really want? And I think a lot of us know what we don't want, but
Mm,
not really sure what we want. And then even we can define super deep into what we want. Can you just simply hold on to that? It's like, oh, this is it. And then when you have more ideas, nuances, excitement popping into your head, can you trigger your mind to say, oh, I already discovered what I want? Can I try to align it that way? Not start going off tangent. Well, that seems like eventually get what I want. And this is maybe an easier, better, and more fun path, but able to say no confidently to those things that will not truly get to what you want. And do you believe when people, let's say, initially they're driven by status, right? It's not just the status, it's what the status can give them. So if people
right.
don't understand, let's say, money and status, or even just saying having a family can give them, they will never actually that driven to get to that point.
Well, they were driven by what they thought was on the other side of the status. And often we get to that status or get to that thing, and you're still wanting something else because it was something on the other side of that that you really wanted. It wasn't that thing. And so that's why getting to that crucial question, like you said, of what you really want is the first step. Just like in Runaway Bride. You remember that movie with Julia Roberts when she was marrying all these people and run away from the altar because she would make what they wanted for their eggs. She didn't even know what kind of eggs she liked because she was so busy making for everyone else. And we tend to do that, especially as women, I hate to say. But we tend to take care of everyone else's needs and forget about what we even want. And so when you talk about status and achieving these milestones, they don't even understand, or we don't even understand that it's not the status that we wanted. It was that feeling of being enough. It was that peace, that joy of being able to do whatever you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. It wasn't a status.
Right. It's always the debate on more or enough. And the lie I believe people give to themselves is, if I already celebrate everything I have achieved, even all this tiny milestone, does that mean I'm going to be complacent? Does that mean it's going to make me feel like I'm kind of stuck in where I am? I can't go further, right? I think that's what we talk about even from the beginning, is that these are just lies our brain created. Actually, the more we can celebrate ourselves, our wins, and everything we did, that gave us the momentum and energy. The true cycle is not I'm motivated, then I do, but it's that I did something for myself. I felt the win. I felt more competent, and therefore I am able to do more, right? That's the cycle. It doesn't start with, I already believe this is great
Mm.
outcome, this is other things, and then I'm going to do something. But it's to allow yourself to have these micro changes and micro steps that already feel good for you. So if you're more enjoyable, then of course you want to do more of that.
And be more of that. Be more of the joy that you're experiencing. Be more of the, I have the time and the peace because I fed me. And now I know what it feels like to know what I want, to be able to kind of go from strength to strength, like you mentioned.
Right. And I think sometimes people believe that if you fill your own cup, it's a luxury that they don't have. But we also know from clients' cases, I teach people these like 2 to 3 minute reset, right? You don't have to think about, oh, I have to take a nap. I have to do a whole meditation. I need to go work out. No, even incorporating everything that I already know in your body, in your mind, you can reset in 2 minutes. And
Yeah.
then if you tell yourself, I don't have 2 minutes, then why are you on your phone scrolling for
Mm.
nothing? Why are you text messaging and get stuck on another message, another message? Seems like everyone else is in demand of your time instead of you're in control of your own time, right?
Right.
And people start noticing that even these micro changes, the micro reset, is making them to be able to sleep better, right? Making them to be more focused. Instead of our lie has been, hey, just give me another 5 minutes. Let me just send out a couple emails. And then guess what? Your one email 10 to 10. Your 10 email make you feel frustrated. And you're like, oh my God, there's more coming.
And not to mention, you're going to have typos on those emails. You're going to have, oops, I meant to send the other picture with that email because you're frazzled, distracted, and stressed. So you have to feed you first. It crumbles if we, like you said, those 2 minutes, even just taking time to breathe is a reset. Resets
Right.
our heart, resets our brain function, resets our mood. So I'm all about the micro reset because they can have powerful impacts throughout your day.
Exactly. And what we know is that all our life components are interconnected. When was the last time, let's just say you had a stomach ache? Were you really pay attention to all your clients, all your patients, or even to your family, their needs? Not really, right? So if you continue to eat badly, not get yourself the energy you need, how do you get to continue working and not feel the sick, right? The achy is the stress because your body giving you warning. And same thing, if your relationship is not strong, when you have something bad happening at work, who do you really talk to consult with? Do you just expect people magically appear to you no matter what? When you haven't built strong relationship to support each other as a mutual connection. And then same thing, if we weren't sure, as what Michelle brought up, your own wishes and want, you're constantly going to missing out and question yourself, what am I doing? Am I doing enough? What more do I want? I don't even know where I'm heading, right? When we truly burn out, stress out, it's because we have no aim anymore. You're just walking around like a perfect little machine of doing and no longer of feeling the emotional side of the need and to really see what life could be for you. So that's why even for our speakers, I make my clients do 100-question deep dive, but our speakers make a mini version of that. So Michelle, when you saw your life wheel, what's the something that popped into your head?
Goodness. I know that I'm very mission driven, that I care about people, but I had no clue that my life mission would be the biggest part of my wheel. That was a little surprising for me. I thought it was going to say family. But that's what I appreciate about working with people on stress. When I talked about getting to know what you want, that self discovery, this is like that. Learning to look at black and white, kind of what is really pulling your time, what is really pulling your emotional strings, because we can get disconnected by being busy. We can get disconnected from what we feel and what's really important. And so I appreciated the assessment. It kind of surprised me a little bit. And I'm curious to know kind of the behind the scenes of what it all means. But like with anything, and this is what I take my clients through on our VIP day, once you know yourself, once you've done the research, you can actually release some of that, repair the damage, and then relaunch. And so, knowing this about myself, knowing that, hey, it's my life mission, how do I weave all of those other areas in so that they're in harmony? So, that was my kind of takeaway from that quiz.
Awesome. I appreciate you being so honest and being so generous about talking to our audience with your insights, your work, and from being PAs. And we are trained from a way of analytical, right, studies, and versus the other side of when we think about holistic, it's really it's encompassing, right? It's creating harmony. It's thinking about what we want is not just this one or two pillar, but it's everything is interconnected. And so I'm sure people are gonna want to talk to you more from a healing perspective. How can people reach out to you?
Well, I'm very easy to reach. Everywhere that you look for the Pain Free PA is where you'll find me. So on IG and on Facebook, my pages are The Pain Free PA. My website is www.thepainfreepa.biz. And of course, my DMs, email, and contact page are always open because stress is such a big deal and we need to start healing.
So well said. I so appreciate you being here. And everybody, thank you for listening. And we would love to hear some of your comments. Please drop a message at wherever you're listening. Give us a review at iTunes. And we would love to hear what other things we can support you on so we can continue to grow together, right? And until next week, hopefully you all have an amazing day and amazing time.